Herzlich willkommen zu Music Talk, dem Music- und Sound-Production-Podcast aus Berlin.
Matt Black from Coldcut, standing next to me. Matt, you're part of Energy Union Tour. Why did you join this tour? It's kind of a campaign, but it's also a music tour and a discussion forum, all focused on intelligent energy. Why did you join this?
Energy Union is an international group of friends, including myself, who decided to get together to put our interests about art, music, politics and partying into a package. And we got a grant from the EU so we could do that. And that's what the project's about, really. Going around Europe, doing these events and with carrying the theme of intelligent energy forward, because that's what we all believe in. So Coldcut are part of that.
You will show audiovisual show, kind of audiovisual cinema. How did you how do you work with the topic of this with the theme of this tour, that is intelligent energy? Also ich übersetze mal kurz. Intelligente Energie ist das Thema der Energy Union Tour und wie wird Matt gleich dieses Thema audiovisuell hier bearbeiten in seiner Show?
So we've looked at what's going on, what our lives are like, what we think of the situation we're in, and that's what the show's about. So there are other films out about climate change and the environment, but most of them are a bit depressing. So we wanted to make ours a lot more optimistic, because that's how we feel about life generally. So the show's in 4 sections. The first called Celebration, which is a celebration of what it's like to be alive, of the natural world, and also our civilization, that we live peaceful and enjoyable lives, most of us, certainly in Europe. And then things are going a bit downhill. Caution is the second section, highlighting some of the problems that we're creating in the environment through ignorance, really. Ignorance and sometimes greed. We could damage the environment that we're living in, which would be a pity. How do we stop doing that? We need the solutions, which is the third section, and that's concentrating largely on renewable energy solutions like solar energy, wind energy. We have plenty of energy. There's enough energy, and that's what the solution section's around, showing that. And then in the fourth section, action is, okay, well, we know we have the solutions, but how do we put them into practice? How do we change our governments and corporations and our own personal perspective to get to the point where we want to be? How do we change? How do we move forward? By taking action. And this section checks out the different ways in which we can take political and personal action.
And now to the more technical stuff. You're part of Coldcut, kind of the masterminds of sampling remixes, and also nowadays you work very much with video. You do much video stuff and really choreographed audiovisual cinema shows. How do you set it up that everything is in time and that the music and the image are in perfect sync and so on? Ich habe gefragt, Matt als Teil von Coldcut, als Sampling-Pionier, der auch in den letzten Jahren immer mehr mit Video gearbeitet hat, wie er es hinkriegt, solche perfekten audiovisuellen Shows zu machen, die perfekt gesynkt sind, wo das Bild genau zum Ton passt.
Right, so Coldcut's slogan, actually Stu from Hexstatic came up with this. What you see is what you hear. So the aim is to get that connection between sound and image tight and interesting. Actually, any sound can go with any image, but there are many ways in which one can make those links. So we explore and play with different ways in which sound and image can be hooked together. In the past, we used VHS machines, like old video recorders and old school video mixers. and other, bits of circuit and equipment like analog video synthesizers. And now it's more about what one can do with the digital tools. So a laptop, I don't want to be a salesman for Apple or Microsoft, but a laptop is an amazing power station for being able to express yourself creatively. On my laptop, I've got full video editing, full audio editing, and the ability to DJ and jam, synchronize, synthesize, and process both sound and image. And that is an incredible thing. So basically, what you see here is computers and interfaces. Like this is an interface, which lets me play with my hands like a performance instrument, but it's controlling the computer. So just to go with your mouse on the computer is pretty boring. And this is actually a more fluid, a more exciting way to perform. So computers and physical interfaces.
I see here the Novation Launchpad.
Yeah.
It's the Ableton Live interface.
Yeah.
Is Ableton Live your main station, your sequencer, your sequencing device?
Yeah, Ableton does it for us on the sound department. And a few years ago, we developed our own Coldcut software called DJam, which was very much like Ableton, actually. Basically, there are a few of them. They're loop engines that let you do automatic synchronization of loops. And Ableton's developed over the years. I've talked to them about developments and even contributed to some of the features, like the beat repeat is based on a plugin called the Coldcut, which I think I could say is the first glitch plugin. You probably know what that is, that takes loop and chops it up and randomizes it. And yeah, those guys rock, and it's a good product. And then on the visual side, we have our own software, VJam. We have VDMX, some American guys I know develop that, and that's actually what I'm using for visuals on the Mac at the moment. And those two programs with Quartz Composer in the middle, and then I'm just getting into Max MSP. I've got a friend who's helping develop bits of code for that. So Max MSP is like a Lego set that you can build stuff out of to do certain jobs.
And it's nowadays it's integrated in Ableton Live also.
Now it's integrated in Ableton with Max for Live. That's great. Serato we use sometimes as well, which is probably the top time-coded vinyl solution that lets you evolve DJing with vinyl to take it into the digital stage, which is something we always said needed to happen to keep the DJ skills alive. So those are the kind of tools that we use, and it's laptops and interfaces. Basically, it's the same thing. The record deck is an interface as well, so that's what they're using there is Serato, but on a good old Technics SL1200, the hip-hop icon.
You're all alone on stage in a few minutes, or are you together with Jonathan?
No, John's in LA working on that album at the moment. It was the only way we could do these, to fill this show, was for me to be here and do it. But this has been mainly my project, and John's more involved on the album side. Then there's going to be the Coldcut Solid Steel Mix CD, which we're working on as well. And then after the Coldcut Energy Union show, there's going to be a set from Nosage Thing, who's one of these West Coast hot new electronic talents. He's going to be doing a live set. Again, similar thing, using Ableton and a trigger interface like the kind of MPC style control interface. And he gets a heavy, really funky sound. I was listening to him sound check and chatting to him. Interesting, they're getting into visuals as well with Flying Lotus, and him and their mates also realizing that when you add visuals to electronic music, you take it to another level. One of the ways we term it is live cinema.
More question.
Sorry. I'd like to say, with Nosage Thing doing his set afterwards, I'm going to be doing a VJ jam with my friends from Vienna For Your Eye as well. So there'll be a kind of three VJs mixing visuals with Nosage, and that's exciting because it's improvised. That's also my next question. How do you collaborate on stage with the other VJs? Do you one piece you and the next the Vienna DJs? The For Your Eyes is the name of the Vienna DJ VJs, or do you work together really? How do you do it that it's not a messed up image war? Well, sometimes it is a bit of a mess, but a mess can be interesting and exciting as well. But actually, the three of us have a quite good understanding, and Jerry generally operates the mixer, I think. So he's kind of selecting the sources. And the last few gigs, we've done about three gigs together. and it's worked pretty well. But communication is always a good thing. It's interesting sometimes to watch people on stage and see if they're looking at each other and communicating, because that's what humans do. Communication and listening to each other and responding, that's what makes a group exciting.
And so one of my last questions, how much is pre-structured of your set? Because it's really very complex. Is everything from Ableton Live, or are there parts that can be shorter or longer depending on the audience?
So in the Energy Union AV show, it's pretty much fixed. I'm really just mixing some of the audio stuff, to be quite honest. Most of the visuals, they're playing out straight like a film. I can do live visuals as well, but I'm not doing it for this show. But then when we move into the VJ set, that is very much improvised. And Nosage has his Ableton sets with a lot of different clips. So he's quite fluid in what he does. And then with that, the VJ set to go with his music is quite fluid as well. So one set will be fairly linear, and one set will be more randomized and freeform. It's an interesting question, actually, because you will find this comes up in electronic music and indeed, other types of entertainment. If you produce it all in the studio and you get it really slick, you can probably get it sounding better because you can get every little thing just right. But then you can't change it. And if you do want to react to the audience, you're very limited in what you can do. And moments of improvisation, moments of combination and magic are a very special thing. If you pre-sequence everything, if you prepare everything beforehand, you don't get those magic moments. And they're really, you need that to keep you interested and to give the audience something special as well. So it's good to have both chaos and order.
So my last question, definitely, can we do a little walk to the equipment? You just say one or two sentences to one or two phrases to every device. What's it for? Just let's start here. Desi, come around and let's film it quickly. So this is the VJ section for...
Yeah, this is For Your Eyes equipment. Now, I'm not so familiar with this, but it looks like a pretty... Oh yeah, React. This is, I think, designed for VJs. And it's got a bunch of triggers and a bunch of knobs. Most of these things work using MIDI. And it's interesting that MIDI's managed to stay alive all this time. It's not that great, but it does the job. And you can use it to control visuals as well. OSC is the kind of more modern alternative, but because everything works with MIDI, we're kind of locked into MIDI. So really, this is just a MIDI controller, but one designed for visuals. There's a Motion Dive, is a Japanese VJ software, and this is a special interface that was produced for that with like a DJ-style crossfader. Simple, but actually very effective. So that's running Motion Dive on this laptop. This is another laptop PC, and this uses Resolume version 2. Version 3 is an audiovisual tool, but this is just using it for visuals. Center, like a DJ mixer, this is a video mixer, and it can take 8 different channels, but just 2 at a time. Video mixers tend to be able to only have 2 or sometimes 4. But generally, because we can make submixes out of these, can have many layers on this, many layers on any other software, 2 is enough. And sometimes it's nice to have a camera to plug in. In fact, I must get a camera plugged in so we can feature what Nosage is doing and mix that in as well. So monitor here, video output monitor, another Mac which Jerry will be using, and I think he uses Modulate on that, which is another VJ software. So these are different style VJ softwares. I use VDMX. So VDMX, Resolume, Modulate, and Motion Dive, and our own one, VJam, are 5 of the main ones.
From where do you start? Do you work with VDMX?
That's on my laptop, but it's not here because I've taken it out to do some more work in. So my laptop will be plugged into these 2 interfaces. It's, as you said, Novation Launchpad. And I've configured this to use as a kind of dub mixer. So I've got 8 channels, and then I've got 8 different effects. And I can turn the effect on and off. Like some of them are sends and some of them turn the effect on and off. But that's basically like a dub matrix where I can switch in these different effects on the 8 different channels. And then I've kind of configured this Behringer, which is another controller, to be the effects controls for those. So like this is a kind of King Tubby's, now that's a reverb, this is like a King Tubby's delay, this is another delay, this is fuzz and distortion, This is gate, delays, and various other things. And then on the end, we've got a couple of glitch plugins like Super Trigger and what's the other one? Yeah, Effectrix. So they glitch the sound up. So that's again the controller which controls my laptop in Ableton. And then DJ Mixer, really I'm just using one channel of that, but sometimes it's fun to funk around with the effects, and they have nice faders here so you can cut things in and out. They have two different types of effect actually. I like this bank of here. Pioneer have kind of really stepped up with the DJ mixers nowadays, so I've been using their stuff for a long time. Also has MIDI output, so you can use that crossfader to control, for example, a VJ mixer, which is something we did a lot on the last tour. And then this is where Nosage things set up will be. This is his controller, Akai MPD32, based on the classic Akai MPC machines, which are kind of the heart and soul of hip hop. In fact, this Technics SL1200 deck and Akai MPC, that's pretty much the tools of hip hop.
And where's the notebook for that Akai?
It's just a Mac, which he's got at his hotel, so he doesn't get bored waiting for his show to start. And that's audio interface, M Audio. I'm using an M Audio as well. They're okay. And then over here, then a guy's going to be DJing, but he's using Serato off a laptop, so using time-coded vinyl on these two decks, and just a basic standard mixer. Although I see here that he's got a little Akai controller as well with some pads and some knobs, so maybe he's using that to do effects or maybe fire cues as well. Yeah, so taking DJing forward into the 21st century is what it's about, and also being able to bring your studio onto the road with you, because it can all go on a laptop with a controller you're rocking. You add the visuals on top, and this is 21st century live cinema.
So you have 8 more shows, and you will certainly enjoy yourself. It will go through Europe, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Belgium. So have fun. You're going by train?
I can't lie. I flew to Sofia, then I flew to Munich, then I took the train here, and I'm going to take the train back to London. It's like what we can manage. I'm as guilty as everyone. It's just thinking about your choices and see what's the best choice you can make in any moment. You're the judge. No one else should judge you. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Matt Black.
Thank you. Wicked. Cheers.